Hello, hello guys. This time, I made sure my mic works. Dude, what do you even ban these days? What am I supposed to ban here? I'll ban Hades.
Select your god.
No, not the dodge. That's terrible. Man. Wait, why did my login reward pop up there? And not when I opened my game? Sure. I'll do some duo queuing. Wait, what? Rage. It's a lot of rages. I don't know which one it is. Only one is online though. Well, suppose I'll try that one. Cannot invite to party though. Rage. Well, I'll just hope that he shows up in my stream then. If only partying still worked. What? Can't even join the queue either? That's fantastic.
A little something extra.
Well, I don't know if I joined yours, Rage, if you're in chat. I can't tell, but I don't know if I joined you on your screen, but it definitely wasn't the case on mine. Let me try this again. I don't know if that is you, though. Let's find out. Whatever happened with that invite definitely fucked up my queue somehow. Now I can't fucking queue. God damn it, Smite. Why can't things just work in this game? Oh, at least I'm in queue now. Weird. Let's try again then. I don't know if I missed the queue now though. Great. Hayes not responding? Fuck me, dude. Ah, okay, there it is. Off to a great fucking start. There's technical issues everywhere. Oh. Damn it, that's twice now I've done that. It's the random pit. Kinda just sucks that it was dodged in the first place. Now I'm gonna be against Rage instead. Back to banning. I do need them to nerf some things or buff some others because I'm tired of banning the same stuff. And being first pick when you don't really want any of the picks is kind of annoying. Because especially as first pick, you can kind of get what you want. You can always get one of them. Since it has about 5-ish, 5 or 6 gods that are ban worthy. And I almost feel like obligated to pick whatever is still open. Just because otherwise it's just gonna be unplayable. I don't end up just giving them the top pick after banning all the others.
Select your god.
It's just tough. Like, I feel like Afro is probably one I would generally let through compared to the others. But I just it's more like a personal problem. I think Afro, not that I think she's bad in any way, but I just hate dealing with her more than anything else. She's just annoying beyond belief. I'd rather deal with Kali or even Aladdin, I think, than her. Because she is just, yeah, I mean, just as annoying. She's just unenjoyable to play against. At least the others, there's sometimes a chance. It's just because they're very strong, but I don't think they're unenjoyable to play against, necessarily. Afro is. Screw that. But it's probably always going to be a case with like strong support characters, because they just have the chance to carry a situation that normally wouldn't have been winnable for them, just because of just a very strong support ability. Geb is the same thing. Like, when Geb is really strong in metas, he's also terrible to deal with and super annoying. Ganesh is the same, like just a lot of stuff like that. That being said, they obviously don't do much just by themselves. They do need someone else to do the big damage. But still. I also don't really know how long I'll be streaming today. I'll probably just play until I don't really feel like playing anymore. Not that I don't do that usually, but today is just, I have the time. I could probably just stream straight 8 hours if I wanted to. I got nothing going on today. But I don't think I can play Smite for that long in its current state. It's just too boring for me. Damn it. But as usual, I'm aiming for my like 2 or 3 hours at least. Preferably 3. That always feels like the sweet point for me. Mulan or Achilles? It's also Susano, Neithold. Definitely leaning towards St. Aegis in this one. They're full physical too. I will absolutely go for a Helm of Radiance for this. Yeah, now Rage is on the enemy team. What I might go for is a Nemean. Just for when I actually ult. And they hit me back, I might just have that. So maybe I actually don't even go for Helm of Radiance. Maybe I just rush a Nemean second. To have that defense.
No problem.
Suppose I'll just see how the lane goes.
Oops.
Won't really be any big reason to go defense if we're just shitting on them anyway, but
Minions
it's
have
Mulan.
spawned.
So it could be scary early on, just because of the 3. Still think Mulan does pretty well early. As long as she's not into another front line. Like, I guess Mordred or Bracken or something like that, she's gonna get destroyed, but... I might be dead. Thank God it's just Mulan. Yeah, I gotta just sit back. Solo is it's such a bad spot again with XP distribution. Because you need the small ones, I believe. Like, you just last hit the small ones to hit level 2, and it's so weird, man. Why is that even a thing? Why do you get more XP for just last hitting something? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I can see why, in a way. I don't think it's complete shit, you know? But I do think it's kind of weird. Especially if it's the small camps. Maybe the big one I could see. Small feels a bit strange.
Slain. Your right tower is under attack.
Damn, that sucks. I was really trying to get both. Being greedy there. Oh, and I just lost my blue. Whatever. At least blue isn't that important early on. In terms of stats and what it gives you. It's more like just the mana, quick mana thing.
Beneath.
The one creep I did lose was really bad though. Not in level 4.
Rain shall wash them away.
There we go.
Thanks. The underworld calls.
I'll attack right lane. On my way. Attack left lane.
Enemy spotted.
Ultimate is ready.
Move like a jaguar. Enemy ultimate down.
I knew he was there. What I didn't realize was that he was also level 5. But I'll take the trade. My blue buff for the duo.
Be careful. Enemy ultimate down.
Nice job, guys.
Oh yeah.
YouTube.
Completed.
Awesome. Ow.
Don't have enough damage.
Enemy ultimate down.
Yeah, I'll probably just go for Helm of Radiance if Susano's gonna stick around like he has been so far.
Enemy ultimate down. Your right tower is under attack. No problem.
I mean, either way, I think Helm of Radiance is almost a must buy for me in this one. just because of them being full physical.
Attack left
Or full
lane.
strength, I should say.
Your right tower is under attack.
Would have been nice if I had mages up. Might have been able to do some counterplay.
Enemies in left lane.
But yeah, I just need to sit back now. There's zero reason for me to walk up. Into Mulan now having an XP lead.
No mana, I can't. I legit don't have mana.
I'm just messing with them.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack. An enemy has been slain. Your left tower is under attack.
Out of mana. Be right back.
Yeah, I want to rotate. Maybe help out a bit, but I guess that's mostly for myself. I want to do that.
Enemy missing right. Be careful left. The rain shall wash them away. Yes. An ally has been slain. Enemies incoming middle. Enemies incoming middle. Spread out.
Attack middle lane.
Oh, my riffle on my Your left tower is under attack. Retreat left lane. Ooh, an ally has been slain. Ultimate down.
Mulan.
Yes.
Kind of sucks he ended up sticking around for that long and still ended up getting a kill out of it, but
Your left tower is under attack.
this fucking Susano is just always here.
Attack the gold. Enemies in right lane.
Enemies in the left lane.
Neath beat.
Wasn't really any point for me to try and ult.
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Oh, fuck my own tower, I guess. Let's just rotate for this.
Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. is under attack. Thunderstrong.
Oh, we need the anti-heal for that.
My bad.
The rain shall wash them away.
That was a bad dash. But also unfortunate timing on that. Guess I wouldn't. That is just a random dash, I thought. I was expecting him to wait for Sobek to pluck or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what I thought. Either way, the rotation did help me out quite a bit. Just getting those 2 kills.
Enemy missing right.
I don't know why I ulted, honestly. That was kind of stupid.
Your left tower has been destroyed. An enemy has left the game.
I'm here with me, tank it.
Tower is under attack.
Is that the rage quit?
Maybe. Yes, it is.
Ah, they were toxic. I bet they were toxic.
That was a fast. Was that below 10 minutes? I didn't realize how long we were into this game. No, it was not. We got full for that. Interesting. Well, kind of a slow Hades game, to be honest. Mostly because of the, I guess, Susano showing up at rough times for me. And I just played it bad too. It's my warm-up game. I will take the carry in that one. You gotta be the worst jungler. Nah, I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad. Also, I don't know what happened with the invite before Rage, but that shit just, I accepted it and it glitched the fuck out of my game. So I'm not really sure what that was about. Yeah, I was surprised you guys surrendered. Like, we were definitely ahead, but you know, it was pretty early, so. I do think we would have had the late game though, just because of you guys having first strength. I do think we had a pretty big advantage with that. I actually recently accidentally did that as well. Where my team surrendered instead of pausing. That was absolutely tragic. It happens. Sometimes people just, like, you don't expect people to surrender the second someone DCs, you know? But yes, I mean, it's obviously just a skill diff in terms of reading, yeah. People should just read. It will act as a reminder to read. Alright, I mean... Like, what do you ban the second pick now? Because there's so much shit. Like, you just need to ban Aladdin and Kali, I guess. Because those are definitely the worst. I'll get Afro out then. That's fine. They banned Aladdin instead.
Select your god.
We'll grab this guy, Sobek. Rage, if you prefer to play solo, I can go ADC if you want. But I assume you just want to jungle. So. Yeah, I mean, people are gonna have ego no matter where you go. It's gonna have the same thing in casuals. It's actually surprising. I feel like if I do a casual for fun, I always run into way more egos, and bigger egos somehow than I ever do in ranked. It's crazy. What the fuck do I pick here, though? Everything's boring, but we probably need something with some magic. Hades, huh? Do a Zeus game.
So back. Zeus.
I just need to rush a very specific item. Otherwise, I'm gonna get cooked. I do think there is, like, even if you might be better at a role than someone else, I still think they have a right to play that role, you know? But I also get the frustration that you know you might be better at than someone at something specific, and you're not, you know, getting that. Like, I'm not a big believer. Like, people, like, they gotta practice too, you know? If their main role is jungle, or solo, or whatever it may be, then they essentially need to practice more than you do, right? There's also that argument. Right, so... I imagine I'm gonna get camped. I'll be very surprised if that wasn't the case in this one.
Group up. Hi.
Acceptable.
Shit. Do I maybe just start with... No, I can't start with that. Shit. Let's do this. Just save the gold.
Minions have spawned.
Awesome!
I did kind of give Hades to this guy who plays so much Hades. Should have banned Hades instead of Afro. I kind of did forget about banning Hades. I have too much hate for Afro. I had to. Close. Unlucky that he hit level 2. Think I would feel better if each... Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early though for 3 bans. I really do. I think it's just there's too much shit that's just very, like, just way better than everything else. It's just a bit more of an imbalanced situation. Because very rarely in Smite 1 did we have metas where there's like 5+ gods that are broken, until we hit, you know, like the huge, like 100+ gods, you know?
Tower is under attack.
But right now you just have gods like, well, essentially like Mulan, who feel incredibly underwhelming, and are basically never picked in any situation, because they're just bad. Make that god playable, and suddenly there's more stuff to play, and more stuff that can counter potential, like, OP stuff. You know? The thing is, once Ganesh comes, that will take Sobek down a notch, you know? I think we're just missing a lot of gods as well, that's another reason. Some gods don't have counters yet.
Wash them away.
Sobek's biggest counter is Ganesh. Once he comes in, Sobek's gonna just automatically struggle a lot more than before. You saw the same thing when Aurelix came out, you know? Suddenly, gods like... you know, Aladdin and stuff have actual counters. Which wasn't the case before. Now you do have to be a bit more careful. Like, Aladdin is still obviously very good. But now you always have to be careful if there's no wheels in the game.
On my way.
I do have to be careful here. I know Aurelix is on her way too.
Enemy missing.
That's so unfortunate. As long as he gets the kill, it's alright. I'll just watch level 5.
I'm not known for mistakes.
What a shame.
Yes.
Just the normal, average problem of junglers being level 5 before anyone else.
On my way.
Your right tower is under attack.
She was there earlier than I expected though. Didn't expect her to run up behind me. So I was a bit out of position, but I managed to juke most of her early autos to survive long enough. Unfortunate. Just trying to get enough gold.
Okay.
Oh well.
I'll attack right lane. Ultimate is ready.
Not much to do there. Did as much damage as I could have.
Okay.
Yeah, the +1s are also very varied in how powerful they are, that's true.
Tower is under attack. Enemy missing left.
Like, Apollo's is gonna be pretty big, I think. I don't think you're gonna feel it in his average gameplay, in the moment-to-moment gameplay rather, but you're gonna feel it once he starts being able to rotate. Like some teams, like I think that's mostly a competitive thing though. I don't think you're gonna see it as much in ranked, but if people have communication,
A hiccup.
I think that ultimate change is gonna make a pretty big difference in terms of rotation power. Get ready. You're gonna get 3 men ganked. Can't wait. It's probably gonna happen a lot with something like an Apollo mid. I could imagine that Apollo mid is gonna be quite powerful just because of that. Because then you can just have the support and jungle always near you, and you can always 3-man rotate to one of the side lanes. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be absolutely horrible to deal with in ranked.
The vista, amigo. Enemy missing right. Cancel that.
I'll be seeing you.
I don't play damage.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Damn. I probably shouldn't even have done that, but I do actually have legit kill potential in this matchup. Eventually. Once I get some damage.
I'll attack left lane. Ultimate is down.
Defend the Titan.
Okay.
Ultimate is down.
Consider it a minor hiccup.
Lightning bolt.
I'll be seeing you. Okay. Need healing. Okay. Okay. Defend. Okay.
Don't actually want to stick around.
Your right tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Ultimate is down.
Does this have... It does have health regen. Why is this item so powerful? For almost no reason. I want to stick around. How much do I need? 150. I'll stick around. Should be safe enough with beads and boar.
Lost it all.
Your middle tower is under attack. Oh, my
Enemy missing middle.
Retreat middle lane.
The thrill of success.
Enemy missing left. Completed. destroyed the Gold Fury. An enemy has been slain.
I'll just push actually.
Lightning bolt in range shall wash them away.
Excellent.
Strike! Oh, you move like a jaguar.
Well done.
Still got my ult.
On my way. Ultimate is ready. Attack left lane.
Enemy ultimate down. Lightning bolt. An enemy has been slain. Lightning bolt.
Well done.
Nice job.
What do I go with? What do I go with? Probably I could do Bloodbound Book as well. But realistically into Hades, I should really just go Divine. No one else can really go Divine here, so fuck it.
The thrill of
I'll do it.
success. Enemy missing.
Enemies in the right jungle.
Retreat right lane.
Champion.
I'll attack right lane. Ultimate is ready. On my way.
Ultimate is ready.
Oh, they hit like a baby. Retreat! Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
I'm not known for mistakes.
Your middle tower is under attack.
That sucks, man. This sucks that they all three have jumps, and I should have just waited for them to jump on me before I chain lightninged. That would have been huge, man.
Enemies at the fire giant. Let's go.
That sucks.
On my way.
I don't know what to play. That is, yes. Play Mine. Well, it's mainly in Smite. I want to play Smite, I just don't know what to play in Smite. Because I'm burned out on all the gods. And the ones I may want to play are just dog shit. Like, I don't mind playing more Mulan. But I can tell you that if I want to win... I mean, I also want to win. I want to compromise, right? I want to play something that can win. And it's also fun. Mulan is just not going to be very fun
Be careful
with how bad she is. And I'm not going to win. It's going to be a terrible, miserable existence.
my way.
On my way. Hasta la vista, amigo. Ally has been slain.
Blood Bomb book might be a must. Especially if I'm gonna use the board to initiate.
Your right tower is under attack.
Plays Mighty One, dude, that game's completely dead now. Also, I mean, I'm still in the boat that thinks but Smite 2 actually just feels better. I don't want to play Smite 1. Because last time I went back and played Smite 1, I was like, this just doesn't feel as good. I think Smite 2 just feels better to play. They both suck. Yeah, I mean, that's yeah, I mean, there's arguments for that for sure. Fair.
Attack. Group up. Retreat
Enemy
left
missing
leg.
left. On my way. Lightning bolt. On my way.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't realize how much you could actually turn that.
An enemy has been
I thought I could juke it with my boar.
destroyed a middle
No.
enemy tower.
No, you cannot. Maybe I should have just gone into it.
Ultimate is down.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Consider it a minor hiccup.
Maple story. The thing is, don't get me wrong. I don't play Smite because I feel like I have to or because I don't have other games. Because I do have other games. I'm having the absolute best time of my life right now playing Like a Dragon. Because I've been catching up on my Yakuza games. I've been talking about it a bit on stream. I'm having a fantastic time with that game right now. But I also want to play Smite. I just don't know what to really play in Smite. As I said, because I'm a bit burned out on all the gods that are currently
Your
in the game.
team has destroyed the
And the
pirate.
last few gods just haven't done much for me.
Your right tower
Or aspects for that matter. Like the only one that kind of is like kind of stuck with me was the Kali, was just Kali. I haven't tried the aspect Kali yet, but that's also an ADC. It's not really something I'm gonna feel like putting into solo. From what I've seen from it so far.
Oh, you move like a jaguar. Ooh.
Okay.
Oof. I didn't have fire, but we both had book.
Attack the gold fury.
It was a huge risk for me dashing into him with my boar, as that is my main way out of his ult. But I was thinking I could take the trade after he dashed in. Or dashed away, I should say.
Middle lane.
Turns out it's still Hades, and he will still one-shot the shit out of you if he gets the chance.
Your team has destroyed the gold fury.
Enemy ultimate down.
Ultimate is ready.
Attack middle lane.
To the master of the macabre.
Middle enemy tower.
No pull.
Your team has destroyed the middle enemy phoenix.
failed experiment. I'm not known for mistakes.
Well, I don't know why I stayed for my boys. Should've just gotten out. How silly. Can't believe I almost got both of them though. If it wasn't for the Dancer Aegis, I think I might have gotten him. It's just unfortunate. You're a cheater for these 2 items. Everyone's goes for them though. That's the problem. The problem is if you don't have them, you're gonna get shit on. And at this point, you can't really do a mage in solo without running Hexstone, especially into Hades. You know what? Actually, that's my defense, right? They're playing Hades. Take that one.
Rain shall wash them away. Fabuloso! Oh, you move like a shot.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Ah, the thrill of success.
No problem.
Yes. Ultimate is ready.
Your left tower is under attack. Let the
Attack.
Damn. Sad I didn't get Hades.
Your team has destroyed the fire tower. The rain shall wash them away. Retreat middle lane. Ally has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack. Let the
I wanted to follow, I just didn't think I wanted to follow.
attack.
On my way.
Oh, Sobek's running away.
Enemy spotted.
That sucks.
The rain shall wash them away. Ultimate is ready.
Okay.
Do have my boar.
Go fury.
Your team has destroyed a right.
Ultimate is down.
Fabuloso! Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Enemy ultimate down.
I'm so drunk! Oh my god! Unfortunate. Premature stun. I'm kinda cooking, but I'm usually alone in these fights.
By my beard, this shall serve me well.
It's kind of hard to get anything out of it.
Consider it a minor hiccup.
The rain shall wash them away. Attack!
Damn.
Enemy has been slain.
Absolutely cooked. Ow. The perfect chain lightning on 2 mages.
The rain shall wash them away. Your team has destroyed a middle in a... Get in this shot now!
Nah, that was just lucky that they ran away from the wave, because then the chain lightning just kept going on those two. That was almost too clean. That's the thing. Why play tanks when you could just do that? I did a Mordred game yesterday off stream in ranked, and it felt terrible, man. I think you can carry on Mordred against people who may not expect it as much, but my god. If you're against people that knows how to play the game on a higher level, I would generally say you're not going to be able to play the game as a frontline. It feels horrible. It's weird. We'll see if the next patch fixes any of that with the new items, but it's probably going to be a bit better, I would imagine, with those items. But I don't think it's going to be to the point where you just... Now frontlines are going to be the better option. Like, I still think Hades, like Hades, Morrigan, like shit like that's probably still going to be the better option. Maybe. Suppose we'll see. Yeah, GG, Sam. Nothing has that pig, yeah, it's... Hexstone is definitely rough. The only way you really do something, to me at least, is if you end up baiting it out. What I tend to do when I play Hades into pig is that I always kind of need to ult, because that's why they have it. People will always respond to you with it. You just gotta have your dash ready, because you can still catch them after the dash follow-up. And once it's late game and you have poly, Hades is generally pretty good at killing even without the ultimate. But yeah, mages have a lot of tools to be annoying with at the moment. Like Bloodbound Book is also just stupid. Like, I do enjoy playing that way, I will admit. I am having fun with it. But I do hope they nerf the boar at least, because I do think the boar is just stupid. It just rewards bad play, to be honest. It has the same effect as Comet Blink, it's just that Comet Blink was way cooler and had a much longer cooldown. So in my head, it's worse. $800 with my 3. Did it ever hit that high? Late game I probably did, yeah. Most of my damage tend to come from the chain lightning. Don't trust what the T screen says, because it's glitched. It stacks up multiple times. So it will show you being hit by the same ability multiple times, essentially like double the damage. And so you can't always trust what it says. I'm pretty sure at least I never hit you for that much. Unless it was like a chain lightning bounce. Like the kill I got on both you and the Kukulkan late game was the chain lightning mainly. Doing all the damage, because that was doing a lot of damage. That was like jumping between you guys and like 427, I think it was. At least on the Cuckoo. And you guys just got one shot by that combo. That was kind of wild. Did not expect it. I was doing a lot more damage than I expected, considering I had Hexstone. But we also ended up getting pretty fed, and I had fire and all that stuff on top of it. So it wasn't just because I was playing Zeus. We were pretty fed with a fire giant. Yeah, I mean, they just buffed the cooldown on the boar. That's the thing. Like, they want the active items to be something more fun that you can, like, you can actually use, right? And I think that makes sense, but maybe the boar shouldn't be CC immune. Like, maybe that's the play? Because I think that's the play. I think giving someone a dash that, that helps them close the distance, like on someone like Ares or Ymir or something like that, I think that's great. But why is it CC immune? Why are we giving it a CC immune dash? On top of that, the item itself just has really good base stats. Like, it has 300 health and 4, like, health regen. And a bunch of other shit that I don't remember, but, like, those by themselves are pretty good. I haven't played Thor in a while. I'll do a Thor game. At least on Thor, I don't have to go full damage, or full tank, I should say. Like on Modred. I can mix in some damage. What could I do there? If I ulted your team, team will kill me. What you mean, like in the last team fight? The last team fight was just you guys being out of position. There wasn't really much else to do. Like, realistically, it's never good to be close enough to, like, getting hit by Zeus, in a chain lightning on the 2 mages. In this case, you're, like, yourself and the Hades and then Kukulkan. Is obviously not going to go well in any situation. That's just Zeus 101, You don't want to get hit by the chain lightning. But in general, as Hades in that game, I would have focused the Neath. But I also have to have a tendency to go for Helm of Darkness on Hades, because it is very hard in some games to close the distance. I think this game was one of those times. But I would look for one of the ADCs for sure, as one of my main targets. If I'm having, like, Zeus is just one of those gods as well. Like, it depended on how I had done myself into a Zeus. If I thought he was an easy target, I would obviously go for the Zeus, because he should be an easy target. With Boar, that makes him a lot harder to kill. And then I would look for one of the ADCs instead. Like, Medusa is pretty easy for you. So is Neath. I would generally say you should win those matchups pretty easily as Hades, on paper. But it also just depends. I think Hades is definitely easy to play, but I do think you have to choose the right moment to go in if the players are good. Neath does have a dash, but I think it's very easy to follow the Neath backflip on Hades because it's pretty slow. Neath backflip is quite slow. You can land below her before she even lands back down. So you're just ready to smack her when she does. It's hard for me to answer the question just straight out, just because I think it's very situational with Hades. A lot of the time, the best situation for Hades is waiting until they don't realize that you're still around, and then you go in, you know? It is taking someone by surprise. You do not want to be the one initiating in Hades, because that feels terrible. Because yes, everyone just jumps out, and you're just wasting your ult, for no reason. Hades is the, like he's Gandalf, right? He arrives exactly when he needs to, because then it's going to be great. Otherwise, not so much. So I wish I could answer it in a bit more concrete, but it's hard to answer. So it really just depends. It's not as easy as just saying like Uncle Culkin, you're just 1 and 3 and then you're done. I approve of Lord of the Rings ones, yeah. Yeah, Hades is Gandalf, guys. Let's see. Probably against Odin, I would imagine. I think I just do Shell. No, it's okay. Never mind. That is, in fact, a Odin support. You know what? Then I am actually gonna go for a Sunder. And I will probably... Damn it! Dude, why did you remove the tier 1s? I hate it! Fine, I'll do the boring, hella slow start then. Because I can't do a tier 1X. You got any more not Hades specific? I don't think so.
Minions have spawned.
I like Lord of the Rings a lot, but I was never like a super fan. So I can't quote everything in the movie like like some people can.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, Lancelot could get some pretty cool skins in that theme. Odin could as well. I guess a lot of the Nordic gods probably could. To be honest. Because they generally wear heavy armor. No, I missed the creep. I'm just gonna hit you, man. Yep. I have one job this game. Smack Afro with the hammer. Damn it. So close to my 3 being back up. Yeah, I'm not gonna let Afro have a good time this game. When they made that collab for Smite 2 with the new animated Lord of the Rings thing, I was really hoping that was going to be skins. But no, no skins. Not even because I don't know the movie really. Didn't watch it either. I just heard it was okay, I guess. But point is, it was in that theme, so I was hoping there was going to be some skins involved with it. No, man. Aw, shit. Just stop that back once. No, he saw me in time. Sad.
Oh, he's the wrong team, I am sorry. Okay, your middle tower is under attack.
Back off.
Just back before blue.
Your left tower is under attack. I'm fantastic.
Ultimate is ready.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy has been slain.
How weird. I definitely would have thought that from blue I could easily hit the middle of this solo, but guess not. I was actually out of range. I heavily overestimated Thor's range on there. It's crazy.
Your middle tower is under attack. Hasta la vista, amigo. An enemy has been slain. Your right tower is under attack. Kill.
Back off.
I don't know why, but I can see that my Twitch chat crashed. So if you guys said anything, I can't see.
Enemy missing left. Enemy ultimate down. Retreat. Fine. Oh, left lane. That was close.
Odin here too is rough. Did not expect that.
Be careful, right.
Hmm.
Quite the show.
Haven't really played Thor in a while. I don't really know what to build.
An enemy has been slain.
Oh, they're probably fine over there, right?
Ally has been slain. Your right tower is under attack. Double kill. Oh, my rip.
It's fucking stunned. Why did I level my 3? What was I thinking?
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle
Dude,
tower
what is
is
happening in
under
mid?
attack.
Like, how is Kukulkan rotating so freely and Ra is not calling shit?
Enemy missing middle. Cancel that.
Back off.
Your left tower is under attack.
It's dead.
Get back. Enemy ultimate
Yeah.
down.
Shouldn't have hammered.
Valkyries surround you.
It's cooked.
Ally has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack. Enemies at the Gold Fury. Your left tower is under attack. Enemy ultimate down.
The enemy team has destroyed the gold.
Ooh, an ally has been slain. Your left tower is under attack. Enemy missing left. Oh, very strong. Oh, you move like a jaguar. Ooh.
I don't really want to try and fight her anymore, because apparently there's a chance that Kukulkan shows up.
Oh, easy rock. I'm building stacks. Defend. Okay.
Oh, weird stuttering as well. It's great.
Your left tower is under attack. Enemy missing middle.
Damn it.
Back off.
Kind of played that exchange with Afro, but
Your
yeah, a bit
middle
bad.
tower is under
I
attack.
could have done better there.
In range, wash them away. Disgraceful now.
Just everyone here, man. That's wild.
Quite the show. Missing middle. Help right lane.
Yes.
Pain.
I'm not really planning on building that much defense. So maybe I just go with Oni Hunters. as a single defense, because I think I'll just build damage for the rest of it. I literally don't think there's any reason for me to go any more defense in
Your left tower
this game.
is under attack.
What I really do need is cooldown though.
Some say beauty is a curse. I say it's all hello.
Because I actually think I could fight her if I went cooldown.
Enemy has been slain.
That's good. I'll take that trade.
Fabuloso! Enemies at the Gold Fury.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Your left tower is under attack.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
This is definitely a weird game. It's very rarely do I get ganked by the support and the mid laner at the same time. The jungler has he even been here? No, he hasn't been here once. He's fed a shit of the other lanes though, but the fucking Kukulkan has been like 4 times. The one time I didn't have a ward here too. They all showed up.
Ultimate is down. Quite the show.
Enemy missing left. Oh, easy roll.
Retreat. Not bad for you.
Your right tower is under attack. Your right tower has been destroyed.
Hello.
Right lane.
Your right tower is under attack. Your right tower has been destroyed.
Oh, you move like a jaguar.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Okay.
Your middle tower is under attack.
It rains to wash them away.
I mean, it's just bad on me, honestly. I just didn't realize there were all 3 there.
Is under attack.
I was like, alright, if the Agni wants to dash in on me in mid, I guess I'll just fucking wall him in or some shit. Fucking Odin jump too. Whoops.
We need wars.
It's just so awkward and weird. But at least we do have a good late game, so there's a chance. Do not think our late game is as good as theirs though. Gonna have to rely a lot on barrier damage.
On my way. Gank left lane. Oh, you move like a jaguar.
Your left tower is under attack.
Be right back.
Doesn't even matter, I guess.
Double kill.
Doesn't matter.
Double kill. Oh, my horrific. Thunderbolts of lightning. Very, very scary. Yeah.
The enemy team has destroyed the fire.
I think one of the worst parts about playing a frontline is if you fall behind.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyramid.
I'm so far behind in levels as well now.
Your
Or in
left
XP.
tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed.
Yes.
Your left tower is under attack. The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
It's kind of a weird, pointless argument they're having in chat. I feel like the problem in this game has been very, very apparent. And there's a very, very big difference in rotations in this game. Yeah, I mean... Why is this item still a thing, man?
Your right Phoenix is under attack. Your right Phoenix has been destroyed.
Like, what is that, dude? Like, we're really gonna talk about an item dealing over 600 damage?
Your middle Phoenix is under attack. Your Titan is under attack.
Defeat.
Like, from my perspective, it was more of a problem that Ra didn't rotate when Kukulkan did, as well as Ares not rotating when Odin did. I felt like Kukulkan and Odin were fucking everywhere. Like, why are they ganking solo? I don't know about the Acne ban, if we're gonna talk about that one. I don't really think Acne himself is necessarily the problem. I do think Acne is broken though, but so is Aladdin and Kali and so much other shit. I think Lenient Bow is the fucking issue. Why can't it crit? Can we talk about that? This shit shoots so fast that if he has a single stun, which Acne does have, it fits very well into him. Same thing with like an Honor Impale. Like, this shit just crits you to death. It's straight up unfair as an item. It has really good base stats too. There's no denying it though. I do think Acne is very good. But I do think it's reinforced by the fact that he can build Lenient Bow. And he does very well with it. And that item is not okay. Wait, they nerfed it twice? Doesn't fucking feel like it. I think he's cared by that build. In a way, sure, I can agree with that. I think it makes him broken, yeah, with that build. But I do think he would still be very strong without it, with just a normal ADC build. He's just I don't know. He's very good as an ADC. He has a good kit for it. Unlike Kunonos, who does not fit as a melee character, for example. Kunonos is a pretty decent kit, but you translate that into a melee character and it just doesn't work out as well. Acne works just fine as an ADC. I think most ADCs that has a long range CC can work out really well, because if you have crit, that long range CC will just make you land those crits even easier. There's a reason why I think most ADCs don't have long range CCs. The only ones that do is something like Uller, who is fully ability based, and will generally have a harder time landing that stun. Acne, like, just land that shit for free. Oh, it's catching up to me. I'm good. Agni is definitely good, yeah, I do agree. I don't know if I think he's the best, though. I think the same stuff can be said for shit like Aladdin as well as Kali. Like, they jump on you and you can one-shot you as well. It's just a problem Smite has at the moment. That long range and one-shotting is just... long range CCs, I should say, and one-shotting is just a big part of the game at the moment. I would ban it against the Winter, though, I think, because he plays it a lot. It's basically the only thing he plays. That and Thor. It's the same thing with Sol. I feel the same way about Agni as I do with Sol, is that I would ban it against someone who knows how to play it well. But I wouldn't ban it in general, I think. Yeah, Agni. I mean, yeah, we just had a conversation about it as well. Like that build just fits Agni so well that I do agree. Like with that build, he is very, very good. Luckily, that is getting a bit nerfed next patch, from what people are saying. But yeah. Yeah, range stuns just will probably always be really good. I do agree with that. It's always been Thor's best ability too. Like they need to be balanced, like Ullr's, where at least they need to be hard to hit. Like, Agni's is not. Thor's is definitely not. It's hard. It's definitely hard. Like, I can't really blame people for abusing something that's OP at the moment, because, like, half the shit in the game is OP. I'm not gonna get mad at people for, like, unless it's straight up bug abusing, sure, but... nah. I feel like I'm just tired of things being too overpowered and whining about it. I'll just accept it for now, until it's fixed. Or until there's something new to complain about. So far, though, not a whole lot of success playing frontliners. Guess I'll just pick Hades again. I don't really feel like playing it, but I even less feel like dealing with it, so I'll pick it. I want to pull out the Kukulkan. But that's exactly why I'm picking Hades. Because if I meet Hades, I'm just cooked on Kukulkan. Is it me or do people not call relics anymore? There are almost my games not a soul called relics. Yeah, not a lot of people call relics. That's true. I tend to do it for the most part if I know who I'm with, who I know will probably take advantage of it. But for the most part, at least when I stream, I tend to be too focused on talking, I guess, or some other shit. I just get distracted and I forget about it. But you're right. I don't really see many other people do it. You can probably chuck that down to experience. Like the people that's been playing the game for a long time generally are more used to it. I suppose. Is this a shell game? What am I against? Great. Who knows? No one. Everyone. There's a chance I'm against Thor. I'm gonna have to go beats. Unfortunately. Otherwise that stun is gonna be the bane of my existence. And it still isn't bad, but I think I would prefer Aegis in this matchup into a Ra and a Dancer for late game team fighting. It's Thor solo, okay.
Don't worry, I'm full.
Minions have spawned.
There's just too much shit being OP in the game for me to complain about it at the moment. I'll be annoyed when I die to it, because it still feels unfair at times, but yeah. There's not really much to do about it until either it gets fixed or gets a counter in some way. I just can't be bothered. I always reach a wall where I just get tired of complaining, if I've been complaining for a while. Yeah, I just did this. It works well. Not level 2. Is he level 2? He's not level 2. Good. That goes all my 3 pots, but at least I'm Hades. I didn't even hit it. No, man. I wasted beats. Alright, at least I can start winning the matchup potentially now that I have my silence.
The rain shall wash them away.
Oof. Cutting it a bit close.
Battle isn't over yet.
We'll play by him, trying to avoid my fear. I should have probably just dashed the wave instead to avoid most of the damage.
Okay. middle tower is
Yeah,
under
I'm gonna
attack.
chill.
Enemy missing middle.
I really need to get used to the fact that junglers are level 5. Very often do the gank solo as a result of that.
Group up, group up.
The rain shall wash them away.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy missing middle. Enemy missing middle. No problem.
Your left tower is under attack.
Save yourself. Enemy ultimate down. Sorry.
That's too bad.
Your middle tower is under attack.
He yoinked my blue.
Your right tower is under attack.
Gank. Chase the enemy.
Unbelievable. Those junglers. That's fine. I don't think I need it anyway.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Tide of enlightenment. Yield tide.
Is that aspect? It is.
Yield to
Okay.
its flow. Enemy missing middle.
TP behind you guys. Emoja.
An enemy has been slain.
Enemies incoming.
Oh, if I catch that, he's dead. On the spot.
Nice job. Enemies in the left jungle.
Almost didn't have enough damage for that too.
Enemy missing middle.
I'm definitely starting to like going Doomorb.
Enemy spotted.
Doomorb feels really nice.
Gank middle lane.
An enemy has been slain.
But so does Spear of Deso.
Complete.
So.
Ultimate is down.
And Deso does give more cooldown, which is always a fantastic thing.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh, easy long.
Ultimate is down.
Enemy spotted.
Gank.
Your left tower is under attack.
Ultimate is down.
I should have just waited dashing realistically until he actually hammered. That was kind of badly played by me. I didn't think he had beats. I should have checked.
Your middle tower is under
He's definitely doing things.
Enemy spotted. Your left tower is under attack.
Return to Stardust.
Yeah, gank gone wrong. That was... I mean, yeah. The gank itself wasn't the issue, I suppose. It's just... It's a Merlin. What are you gonna do? Sneeze on me? Which he did, by the way.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy ultimate down. Enemy ultimate down.
Oh, you move like a jaguar.
Dude, what is he doing?
Be careful, middle. Cancel that. Double kill.
Just back. Might as well. Can finish Doom up. Too much in love with the Thor mechanics. That's one way to put it.
Enemy missing middle.
I mean, I can just keep zoning, I guess.
Enemy missing middle.
Attack.
Does it feel kind of nasty and disgusting to zone here? Yes. Yes, it does. But
I'll gank left lane.
it also just doesn't matter, because I was so far ahead anyway,
On my way.
that I doubt it's gonna make a difference. Yeah, the Benny Hill music, yeah. If I just have my ult in his, when he does that, he doesn't really get out. Now that he doesn't have beats. I do have to take this more serious though, because actually we are losing on the other side of the map quite a bit.
Enemy ultimate down.
Your right tower is under attack.
I don't know where he landed.
Is under attack.
No, he went back.
Missing middle.
Enemies have returned to base.
Should be a free tower
Enemies
though.
have returned middle. Enemy ultimate down.
Once I have Polly, I might have more kill potential, despite not having my ult up.
Wash them away. Enemy is right.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Keep smiling.
Your middle tower is destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. Be careful.
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed.
Let's get volley.
Ultimate is ready.
Like what do I even build?
Is under attack.
Guess I still have space for Deso, so I might as well. I could also just go for a Divine, because they do have Raw.
Okay. Attack.
On my way.
The rain shall wash them away. Fabuloso. Oh, Mayarific. Enemy missing right.
Don't be sad.
Lucky ass. Forced him back again though. It's more XP he's gonna lose.
Your left tower is under attack.
Be right back.
I do see someone else. Missings, boys! Missings! Don't lose this. I'm begging you. Oh my god. Oh my god, boys. They're definitely on fire. Oh, dude, there's no way!
No problem.
If we lost fire here too, I would have lost my mind. They do the classic 4-man gang solo, my whole team is on the left side, they get fire, we somehow end up losing the game. That's happened multiple times in the last few days to me.
Your right tower is under attack.
I don't need another one. I also really need to stop wasting my ult on Thor if I know I can't get a kill on him. Because I need to stop. It's not worth it. Even if I get the kill on him and I die for it, that's just not really worth it.
Under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Your right tower has been destroyed.
Enemy missing middle.
Group up.
I would TP if it didn't require me to. Well, I want to stay on fire. It does feel like we have another situation where mid just refuses to rotate, and their mid is just everywhere again.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Like, where is everyone, man? What is happening?
Okay. Keep smiling.
Also, pointing case with the Agni situation, because right now our Agni is getting clobbered by Dance over there. Agni not leaving left. Yeah, he shouldn't though. He shouldn't, because he's getting shit on. We need him to just keep farming. but that doesn't change the fact that we are getting shit on as a result of this dancer being super fed.
Ultimate down.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
Agni! That's the situation where he should be rotating though. Dude, just go through it. You're immune. Oh man, that felt like that was gonna be really good. What did so much damage to me? Just fucking Yamoja? Yeah, I mean of course it's Vives, just he's going full damage too. We're losing to the full damage Yamoja, man. Fuck. I'm tempted to go for more cooldown. Because it's so hard for me to fight without my ult up. I might finish the build off with a Chronos Pendant. Show Agni build, it's just the usual. He doesn't have Lenient Bow yet, but he's working on it now.
I believe in you.
Once he finishes that, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep farming. Don't want to end up dying for it though.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Someone built it last game as well, Calgaram. It does happen, but yeah, it might not be as frequent. I'm gonna do that, but I'm not gonna ult him this time. Screw that. I need that shit for something else.
Enemy ultimate down. No problem. Okay.
Defend. Group up.
Bask in celestial restoration.
Wash them away. Shut down. Yes. Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy team has destroyed the fire gun.
Just kill him, boys. Don't stay on fire, man.
Set up an ambush here.
Very, very scary. Yeah.
That's so annoying, man. That's criminal. There's no way he gets that shit.
destroyed the pyromancer.
We have Cuckoo ult up as well. You know what? Maybe I do. I'm gonna wait so I can finish my starter instead. Probably need to go a Helm of Darkness instead this game. It's only gonna be harder for me to go in. We were just lucky there that route went to the bush.
I will not let you fall.
But hey, at least we got dagger. Fucking hell, I said that too soon.
Okay. The rain shall wash them away.
I am lucky that both Ra and Dancer keep grouping up. Because those are the only two that can't get out.
Attack.
Oh, is Guan not tank? He's not, he's full mage as well. It's meta his ass! I don't know why I dashed in. We all just fucking died. Somehow. How did they both die to who? Dancer? Ah, Dancer just ulted past, I guess.
Curses.
Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower. The pyromancer has arrived.
No, fuck it. At this point, it's not been a problem ulting. I want to just make sure my cooldowns are back up sooner. Give me that fucking Chronos Pendant. Yeah, neither team has a full tank. Actually, I mean, the closest they have is Thor, but he's probably the most useful player in the game, so there you go. Why would you play a tank?
Behind us. The rain shall wash them away.
Big. He has Boar as well. He has the exact same build that I always go with too. The cool camp build is so stupid. But it works. You have 2 dashes and a bunch of turn-on damage.
Your left tower is under attack.
Okay.
I mean, they got fire, but surely we can just end. I think I could have survived if I really wanted to, but I wanted the big play. I wanted to outplay Danzo. Just didn't have the health for it. Does Boar scale off Ind? No, it scales off of your max HP. So right now, I actually tried, and for next patch this might be legit, but there is legitimately a chance that you could just go for the full, like with Contagion coming out, giving like 500 health. You might be able to get some pretty serious boar damage out of that shit, because you can get like 5k HP somewhat easily. And I actually checked, the boar is going to do about 550-ish damage, which isn't huge, but coming from a full tank, or I don't even know if I want to call you a tank, you just have a shit ton of HP. That might be good, but at the same time, I mean, late game, 5k HP, not really that good anyway. Like, it's not really that good, I think. HP won't do much for you into a full build mage. They have cooldowns enough to fuck you up pretty fucking fast, and if you don't have any protection. Yeah, it bugs a lot of the time as well, so I wouldn't rely on the boar, for sure. I still don't know what the criteria is for it bugging. It's weird. Hey, Vives, thank you so much for the raid, man. I hope you had a good stream. And GG's, you were a pain in my ass. Jeez, I didn't want to deal with it. I'm sorry, man. People are leaving it open, and I feel like I need to pick it, because otherwise I'm gonna kill myself in Minecraft if I am against it. Enjoy the game, stay safe. Thanks, man. You too. Have a nice day. Oh shit, that was a pit. Or just off the cliff. If I can, though, I think I will try and play something else in this next one. Just something else, not Hades. Even if it's open, I don't care. I've done enough Hades for today. I don't want to play him anymore. It was the same thing last stream. I played too much fucking Hades. And he is definitely fun, but I'm getting a bit burned out on him again. Maybe I'll do a Mordred game. Play a shitty tank. Could always try and mix in a little bit of damage with my Mordred. See how it goes. Play Vamana? I wish. I wish. Only in my dreams. I pretty much cry myself to sleep every single night thinking about Vamana. Or my lack of Vamana. It's alright though. Apollo is right up there. He is in the top 3 of my favorite gods of all time, so I'm excited for it. And now that he has a frontline aspect, maybe he's gonna be even better than ever. We'll see. I will say though, what I really enjoy on him is that same kind of shit that I've done with Zeus in Smite 2, where you go for Brachis and Kins, and just go full tank for the rest of it. But now that they've changed or shifted Kins into working a lot differently, I don't think it would work as well. So I might try that type of build on him to see it would work, but I doubt it. I don't think he would do as well with the build that I run on Zeus. Because at least on Zeus you can rely on ability damage. It's not really the same for Apollo, his one damaging ability that's worth relying on. I'm not taking a whole lot of damage from this. I need to ban something though. I'll actually just ban the Hades. Simple. It's in my own hands. Bari, I guess? I'll ban Bari.
Select your god.
Stop. I'll pick Kali myself if no one wants it, but I would prefer someone else to take it. I don't really feel like playing her. Brobeck it is. Man, I died right in front of the fucking portal? Shit. That's unfortunate. Are you happy with the itemization in Smite? I think it's okay. Like, it could be much worse, but I also think it could be better. Right now, I don't think it's better than Smite 1, but that's just because they also had, like, they had the system in place, you know? They knew what they wanted to do with items, then they had all the stats figured out by the time it was fun, you know? It's a tough comparison because they knew what they were doing in Smite 1. They haven't figured out that sweet spot for stats just yet, which, you know, is why the meta changes so much every single patch almost, that now tanks feel a bit underwhelming because they just don't feel tanky, you know? So it's hard to say. Right now, I don't think so, no, that it's that great. But I do think what they've done with items, with like actives and like, well, because mainly the actives, the potential fun stuff you can get out of items now is better than it was in Smite 1. Because now you can build an item just because it has a fun ability tied to it. I think that's really cool. It's way more interesting. And it creates more variety in builds. Once everything is, you know, balanced a bit more. Right now, generally, you just kind of stick to the same actives at all times, but hopefully that's going to even out a bit more towards the lifetime of Smite 2. Hopefully it will just be somewhat balanced by the time we hit release. And by balanced, like, it's always going to be something that's more powerful than others, but I just hope that we get to a point where we won't feel like we have too little bans. Because very rarely in Smite 1 did I feel like we had too little bans. I was always like, I'm content with what we can ban here, and we can try and get one of these two OPs type of thing. But right now, that's just not the case. Like, I would argue that's like 10 or so OP gods in the game. With how the game is at the moment. So it's hard to ban. People just stick to the same bans because it's just comfortability, I guess. But like, people complain about Acne a lot, especially today as well. I see some people complain about Sol still. Obviously right now, because tanks aren't fantastic, they're not really being talked about, but Mordred, Cabrakan, Odin were in the talks like just one patch ago. You know, there's just a lot of shit to ban. There's a lot of very powerful gods. That's just on top of what we already have, you know? Like, Guan Yu has aspects to him that are just broken. I think Ymir is a ban-worthy support. It's just... There's just too much other shit to ban. Like, on the ADC side... Just right now, it's just funny to see Agni as well as Ali essentially being the best ADCs. With their aspects. It is funny. Ogi and Jack, okay. Ah, I see. Ran to the Dutch Ogi queue. It's fine, we have Purple Orb. Yeah, they did. I assume you mean all the way back in the early beta of Smite, with the stats they put in, where like every time you leveled up, you had like stat attributions, like in a Dark Souls game basically, where you just put into strength and into int. It was really weird. That shit was so weird, but it was a cool experiment, I guess. But no one liked it. Like the thing is, for all we know, that shit could have been peak. We have no idea. But it was so different. It was such a different step. That it was so, I don't know, it was too drastic. It was hard to get used to. Like, it literally only was a thing for like 2 weeks. Then they just completely reverted it again, because no one liked it. They probably just lost a lot of players for it too. I'll just secure the blue here. Actually made it in time too, that's crazy. Damn, Kali Thor so fast that you can actually just still make it to the 3rd creep. Wild. Ogi probably has a macro for just laughing. He loves that shit.
Enemy missing.
Chase the enemy! No problem at all. Yes.
It's always funny when I guess the Ogi, because he just makes me laugh. Funny man.
Attack.
Well, Chuck's laugh is also pretty contagious, I think. It's got a great laugh.
Fantastic, friend. Oh, my fluff, that was awesome.
Enemies in right. Enemy ultimate down.
Go on, you ult.
Oh, they right my way. Enemy missing middle.
I have no cloak. So.
Sucks how Thor isn't 5.
Problem at all.
That's really unfortunate.
Enemy missing middle. Balls.
Aw, man. I lost that to shit too.
On my way.
This is Blink.
Your right tower is under attack.
Enemy missing right. They fought. Nice job.
I'm gonna be greedy and stick around.
The rain shall wash them away.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy ultimate down.
Your left tower is under attack.
I imagine it's... Oh, it's not Aspect Chuck. Okay. I was about to say, I thought it was gonna be Aspect Chuck. It's gonna make things a little more annoying.
Gank.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy missing. Enemy has been slain. Nice job.
Completed. Enemy missing right.
Be careful, middle. Enemy spotted.
On my way.
On my way. Oops. On my way.
That's so unfortunate.
Oh, crumbs. I'm very sorry.
Plug hits and we get whatever kill there's. It's plugged, but whatever.
Enemy spotted.
Your right tower is under attack.
Hey Dark, thank you for the raid, man. Hope you had a good stream.
Enemy ultimate down.
That shit really does not have a cooldown.
Enemy spotted.
Your middle tower is under attack.
No problem at all.
Close. Guan Yu was on his way too.
Defend. On my way.
Enemies incoming.
Oh, be careful. Retreat. Ultimate is down. Enemy has been slain. Enemy ultimate down.
Right tower is under
Is that intended? Like, is it supposed to go into slow-mo when Chuck ults? Is that a new thing they added or some shit? 'Cause that sounds funny as hell. That's so funny. I will not fall.
Your right tower is under attack.
Enemy ultimate down.
I should have just gone back. I'm playing with fire too much.
Has destroyed a left enemy tower.
Guessing. Okay.
Your right tower is under attack.
Bloodbound.
Attack middle lane.
Your right tower is under attack.
Ward here. Yes, ward here.
Bloodbound's kind of interesting on Jack, actually. I haven't thought about going full mage on Jack in a while. I always just go for a full strength build.
On my way. Be careful left. Careful left. Enemies behind us.
Ultimate is ready. Go!
On my way.
On my way.
Ally has been slain.
Okay, man. Literally in my jump animation, too. That's so annoying. My bad, I guess. My beats even went off, too. I just got a one-shot. That's so boring.
Tower is under attack.
Aww. I didn't realize Zeus is getting hammered in that.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your
Oh.
left tower is under attack.
Just need my 3 up. Thor! There he is.
Enemy has been slain.
How, dude, how are they just all still here, man? Why is Jack still here? Fuck. I just go farm. No, of course. The Hekatse is in solo.
Tower is under attack.
That's great. You know, I might still be able to deal with Hekatse as Kali here. I'm sure it's fine. That's tragic though. That just... yeah. So much XP that I could have gotten. But apparently for some reason Dutch decided to go and take. Dude, that siren's going off like crazy. I don't know if you guys hear that, but shit's going down somewhere outside. What are people doing this early on a Friday? I'm just dead here. No. It's fine. Oki sucks.
Your right
I live.
tower is under attack.
Enemy ultimate down. Well.
Completed. Be careful.
Jack no ult.
Your right tower is under attack.
Defend middle lane.
Doesn't need to move.
Guess I'm going mid.
On my way.
Dude, come Come on, dodge.
On my way. Ultimate is ready. Pulling back.
Retreat!
Pulling back. The Gold Fury.
Like, it definitely saved the shit out of
Your middle tower.
Neath there, but
On my way.
main thing that kind of just sucks with that
On my way.
is that I finally would have gotten a kill. I don't really care if I die for kills right now. I just really need something to get back into the game.
Enemy missiles
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh, you move like a jaguar. Ooh.
on my way.
Need healing.
Your middle tower is under attack.
We're really just running the complete opposite way.
Enemy ultimate down.
Yeah, they just feel so cooked. Zeus, buddy.
Your middle tower is under attack.
He just needs to stop dying, man.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
His build is kind of questionable, though.
Attack the minions. Enjoy the journey ahead.
Good game.
You've made an
Not a fan of the aspect. I mean, it's just an ADC aspect. In solo, I don't think it's good, no. I haven't tried. I haven't tried a single game of it. That's also why I mean, if I tried it, I would just do it in the casual, I think. So Nika running it? Yeah, I mean, I think you can. Like, it's essentially just an ADC, but I think for solo, I just prefer having my ultimate being like a source of escapability, I guess. Or like an anti-dive ability. You don't want to dive a Kali who has ult up.
okay. Okay. You've made an elf smile today.
Retreat, middle lane.
Ally has been slain.
Enemy ultimate down.
Your middle tower is under
Enjoy the
attack.
journey
Your middle
ahead.
tower has been destroyed.
Enemy coming right.
The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your left
This game is just so unplayable as well. I do understand why he's struggling though. Like, he's into some tough stuff. Ymir Guan Yu just constantly sitting on him. Like, it's not like I think I could do much against that either, but I do think he's dying a bit too much. He has to be out of position at least once or twice to die as much as he is right now.
Your middle tower is under attack.
But the further into the game we get, the better it's gonna be for me. Because I'm also behind as fuck. What's he building? He is quite tanky. Definitely back then.
Pulling back.
That will do.
Let's get Nimble Ring. We're just really far behind. Mostly in XP. Like, gold is not even that crazy. I honestly would have expected more, but like our highest is 16 on our Thor, with them having
Enemies at the fire giant.
level 18 is kind of crazy.
Enemies at the fire
6K.
giant.
The enemy team has
Ah,
destroyed
bomb on
the
it.
fire giant.
I got the beats. I'll just take the death. Don't want to waste beats on that, I will die anyway to the tower shot. Another reason for me not wanting to run the aspect is just I really enjoyed this version of Kali too. I really do like it. It's just been tough this game. I fucked up early and died to Chalk, and then with my team also falling as far behind, my blue was getting evaded and shit like that. It just made it tougher to actually get back into the game once I screwed that up. But this is a good first step. Get him some good online here, some good items online, and then I'll be good to go. As long as I can just sit on Hakata and Neath, which shouldn't be that hard. It's only gonna get better from here.
It's a trap. Ward here.
Your team has destroyed the pyramids.
That was awesome. Enemies in the left jungle. Enemy spotted. On my way.
Group up! Wait!
Not let you fall. Retreat left lane.
On my way!
No problem at all. Defend.
Zeus, man, dude.
Need healing! Be right
Be careful. Need healing.
A fair choice.
I think I've seen why Zeus keeps dying. Dude, he's just so out of position. And he doesn't have beats, I guess? He does, it's just in cooldown. But I've seen him get a Hakata ulted more than once now. Oh, we lost. Shit.
Into my trap!
Like, it's not even hard to get out of a Hakata ult. It's very, very easy, and Zeus has movement speed to help him as well. Okay,
Enemy ultimate down!
need ult. I just need to keep farming. Like, why is he here too? Go somewhere else and farm. You need the solo farm.
Enemy missing. Be careful. On my way. Oh, be careful. On my way.
On my way!
Ally has been slain.
Ymir is just playing, like, he's just... It's too hard for us to do anything with Ymir.
Ultimate is ready!
Maybe now we can play the game.
Enemies behind us. Be careful.
And she just shot away. That's great.
Enemy has been slain.
Fuck.
An enemy has been slain.
Enemy ultimate down.
Go on, all done.
Fury.
Did it nerf for healing?
Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Definitely feels like my 3 heals less, but to be fair, that it definitely should.
Fire giant.
Good lord. That shield healed too much.
Enemies have returned to base.
Ultimate is ready.
I will warn. Enemy missing.
Yeah, I mean, you still heal a lot.
Be right back.
Be right back.
I suppose it won't hurt.
Retreat. Be careful.
There's Neef beats as well from last fight.
Set up an ambush here.
To give Zeus a leap? No, they definitely should not give Zeus a leap.
Be careful.
I'm not sure any like high tier player would agree with you on that one. I'll do it. Go away, creeps! Holy shit!
I suppose.
Rain shall wash them away. Attack middle tower. On my way. I'll gank.
Yeah, I just one-shot Neef with the perfect combo. Just stuck in her ult.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Attack!
Oops. Retreat. Attack the fire giant.
Fire type.
Need healing.
No problem.
I think they both hold.
Destroyed the fire tower.
Save yourself. Save yourself.
Be careful. Retreat.
Just get out, boys. It's
Just
not worth
yeah,
it.
Just back out. Like,
Retreat!
because they're all coming.
Retreat. Retreat. Okay. Okay. Be right back.
The thing is, though, technically you can get him with a dash at the moment. Because of the bunny.
On my way.
On my way. Enemy missing middle.
No problem. Attack middle lane.
Attack the Gold Fury.
On my way.
Dude. Shit. The dude still got dagger. That's good, but I fat fingered. I thought it was on my other button, so I just completely missed. I forgot which button I had in the moment. What do I build though? Kind of tempted to go Bloodbound. But also Doom Orb just feels so good. I don't know. It doesn't give movement speed in Smite 2 though. That'd be my only reason not to do it. You know what? Actually, I should go for some pen. Oh, I fucked up, because this is the wrong pen item.
Neef beats.
Oh, thank god, I can still do it. Totem's Death is what I should go for. I completely forgot. What if NEM3 gave her CC immunity, or like Merc 2 gave mitigations? No. I mean, with an aspect, sure, if that's what you mean. But with them just having that added would just make them broken. Like, unnecessarily. I think Mercury having a frontline aspect I think would be cool. Because his kit actually fits a frontline. You can definitely initiate with him.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower. Wait! Group up. On my way. Attack the middle lane.
They have a ward too.
How long do you have fire?
8. I think we just play for FG, honestly.
Yeah, it's too late then. Just ward up the right jungle and set up for like a quick pickup. Oh, did this just spawn? It did.
Be careful, right.
No problem.
I will ward.
I will ward. On my way.
They have a ward in the grass, I think. Be careful.
Set up an ambush here.
On my way.
Be careful, right? They might clutch you.
Your team has
They're
destroyed
Neef ulting
a
yours
fire
are right. Just get out if you can. Just all out.
On my way.
Gank.
My ult just didn't want to go off. We just need to choose better fights, boys. We're choosing really bad fights. We don't have vision on them at all. That just sucks. I ended up having to beat the Chuck ult, and I just got fucking roasted.
Don't worry, we're still having fun.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, when Hayden's ults, I think it should just be a knock-up as well, right? That makes sense. I have bomb on me, that kind of sucks. If only Sobek had it.
The enemy team has destroyed the fire giant. Your middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, we weren't in a position to help you, Thor. That's not really good for us. It's whatever, though. We just gotta focus on the next one.
Oops. No problem at all.
misclicked.
Enemy ultimate down.
Wait.
Still got him, I guess, but definitely should not have gotten him. I can tell you that much.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Just defend Phoenixes, it's fine, guys.
Has arrived.
Retreat. Be careful.
Yeah, I don't really try to reason with him. I was just mentioning it. It's more like I'm trying to like calm the situation before they tilt, you know? I don't want my team to tilt because then they don't play the game and then they start keyboard warrioring. Need to focus on the big picture here. Huge Thor ult. Oh. If only those follow up on that. It's a good fight so far, though. Dude, Zeus is somehow always inside of that. Oh, and he died.
Your left Phoenix is under attack.
Get him. Yeah. I wanted to try something. I didn't want to just give up the Phoenix. I think it's okay though. Cupid tends to be pretty fast at trying to initiate. I think it would be fine if Thor lands before Cupid ults. I think that's generally the big play we need to go for. But Cupid always goes in just a little too early.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Don't worry, Cryptic. Sap takes everyone's elo.
Enemy spotted. Enemy
He leaves no elo untaken. This man. What a mess.
Wash them away. Your middle Phoenix is under attack.
So far, though, the fact that they have Guan as kind of the saving grace for us right now, because this pick heavily falls off when he's full damage, and not it in late game, because he's not playing it like he has poly as well.
Ethan, check up here.
He's playing it very aggro. If he stays back and just heals his team, he would be doing much better. But he's very much trying to play a carry. I'm struggling in this game though. Very much so.
An enemy has been slain.
Your team has destroyed the
I
pirate.
wonder if you're not taking bomb again.
Be careful.
Cancel that. Attack.
Attack the fire on my way. Ultimate is ready.
Ward here.
We need wards.
Destroyed the fire.
Blink! Blink! Oh my god, I'm getting ulted as well.
Direct hit. Thanks.
We got fire though, still good, but... Blink?
careful. Attack the Gold Fury.
They're gonna contest, I'm pretty sure.
Ultimate is down.
Can you just plug him? Yeah, I can almost one-shot him.
On my way.
Attack the Gold Fury.
Dude, I'm just constantly CC'd. Fuck, man. My bad, I just keep getting CC'd. Huge chain lightning, actually. Nice. Rough, man. I'm really struggling this game. I gotta be way more careful when my beeps are down. Oh, no stagger. Shit. It's just tough because I feel like it feels like not a whole lot of damage is coming from our carries. Ah, well, this is really bad.
Your middle phoenix has been destroyed.
Truly my finest.
He needs to hold 10 seconds for me. But, yeah, that didn't happen. That sucks, man. Tragic. Their front line just did really well. Like, Ymir carried this one by himself. Actual just Ymir carry. Walton freezes doing too much for them in these fights. Every time he just turns around and freezes me, and I can't play the game anymore. But I definitely could have played this game a bit better as well. I was positioning myself very aggressively when I could have chilled a bit more. Actually, what was Thor's damage this game? Like, it wasn't bad, but this isn't good. But like, it's not like Guan did anymore, so... In terms of damage versus damage. But yeah, oh well. It's alright, I've been winning a lot lately, so it's about time that I started losing a bit more. Still not above 5k though. Rough one, yeah, that kind of sucked. I wish Zeus would just stay safer in the early game. If Zeus just didn't die as much as it did in early game, I think we had this one pretty easily. But my guy was just dying on cooldown for a little while. It's alright though. It happens. I can't fully blame him as well. I had some really dumb deaths in this game, because they just CC'd me to death and I never got my ult off. But that is on me for just fighting without having beats done. It happened way too often. Ah, shit. I definitely should have been able to carry that game. So I'm a little bit disappointed that I myself had some stupid plays like that. I was in a great spot during this game. After we got through the laning phase, that is. But then I fucked it. Yeah, that is shit ton of CC. Like I kept having to beat like a Chak ult or the Hekate ult or a Ymir freeze or like all this shit. There was just too much CC for me to keep it. All right. Let's see. Let's ban Aphrodite. Let's ban Hades as well. I'll just grab Kali again. I feel like I need a redemption arc. That's alright.
Your god.
Aladdin it is. I also expect people these days to ban Aladdin over Kali, but I prefer this either way. Aladdin is more fun. And I think he's better in solo than Kali. Because he just farms better. No, I need speed. Run. Faster. Yeah, the Hekate misses as well. Definitely came in clutch sometimes. Like, they weren't too big of a... Like, only one time I remember in that game was it really a problem for me. Because once I was on top of dodge, she was generally just dead on the Hekate. Same thing with the Neath. My main problem was late game that Ymir was always looking for me or trying to peel. That's when I can't play the game anymore. Because Kali is still pretty damn easy to peel. If you have like a consistent CC. Like at some point during these games, I transitioned more into like, let's just try and one-shot a frontline mindset rather than looking for a carry, which was stupid. Because I kind of needed to go in a one-shot a carry, I think. Why am I so slow, man? Yeah. Slow. But oh well. Alright, who we got? Nate. Who am I against, though? Dazzle on the Guan Yu. Should be easy enough of a matchup. What? You can't do this to me. Oh, okay. Saved. Saved. We're good. What the fuck was that? Yeah, they made Smite 2 to fix the bugs. Yeah. There's so many more. We'll see. The thing is, it's still beta, alright? It's still beta. It'll be better when the game launches, guys. Trust me. I like conduit. Your Smite music has been bugged since Smite came out. And somehow that just transitioned into Smite 2 as well. And I don't get it. That shit disappears and disappears whenever it feels like it.
Rejoice in triumph. You rock. Okay.
Hello, from the genie and myself.
From the genie and myself.
Rejoice in triumph.
99% players have 0 volume on music. The thing is, I do have volume on mine, it just keeps going in and out. Like, what's even the point? It might as well be at 0. This shit doesn't work half the time. And then it's gonna fucking slap me in the back of the head sometimes when it just comes in with a chorus, in the middle of the chorus. Like, I'm still here, and then it disappears 5 seconds later. I don't get it. Did I miss? Okay. Thought my back hit missed for a second. Not level 2 though.
Even the genie was impressed.
Take a little bit too much damage here into this Guan Yu.
To me.
Follow me.
Right.
Let's grab blue buff before it's too late, like last time.
I'll get lovely.
Thanks.
Early power wish, but I'll take it.
Bot is een right jungle.
Okay. Recall. Follow the genie. To me.
Watch out for Pinky. He was in my game earlier, big a can admit.
Recall.
Damn.
Our middle tower is under
Probably
attack.
good that he showed up, because I was definitely 1000% going to ult the Guan Yu. And that would have been dead, because that would have been a monkey in there, in the lamp. Just a little monkey.
Enemy spotted.
Attack!
Enemy
Okay.
spotted.
Gun! Attack! Attack!
To me. Let's settle this. Recall. Follow them.
Rain shall wash them away. Your left tower is under attack.
No problem.
No! Man! Damn you, lamp, for running out. I had him! Well, just shit early, a lot of damage. But it's fine. Force him back, we'll get blue. Still a win.
Little hot beats.
Sorry.
Your left tower is under attack.
Server hiccup. Don't appreciate that.
Record.
I have a huge XP lead on one.
To me, Genie.
Ally has been slain.
Enemy ultimate down.
Cancel that. Ultimate
It's all down. He does have beats.
Be careful, retreat.
Record.
Your left tower is under attack.
Let's settle this.
Your middle tower is under attack.
He left. Go on your beats.
To me.
Enemy missing. Enemy spotted. Gang.
I do like that he left before he died.
On my way. Ultimate is ready.
Eventually, I gotta grab my money wish so I can make bank.
Completed. Be careful, middle.
Record. Enemy missing right.
Gank.
Let's go.
Your left tower is under attack. An enemy has been slain. Seize the day. Be right back. Cancel that.
To me, Genie.
Oh, this is kind of looking like a stomp.
Your left tower is under attack. Careful, right enemies have returned to base. Destroy the right enemy tower.
Record.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy spotted. Your left tower is under attack.
Record. Enemy missing right.
Your left tower is under attack. Ultimate down. Your middle tower is under attack. Be careful left. On my way. The rain shall wash them away. Great strength. Attack the Gold Fury. Yes. ultimate is down.
One is mid. And boy Steve. Dude. Who even is that guy?
Record.
Ultimate is down.
It's not going very well for him, at least.
To me, Genie. Let's settle this.
Damn.
Set up an ambush here.
Farewell.
Oh well. A bit of an anticlimactic last game, but...
Victory.
Oh, I'm saying last game. Maybe I can do one more. Yeah, fuck it. I'll do one more. Screw it. Another one it is. It's pretty early. Like, I started somewhat early today. So I guess I'll do another one. As I said earlier in the stream, like, the only thing stopping me from just playing all day today is, do I want to? I would probably stop in like 2 hours or so when I had to make dinner, but I'm starting to feel the fatigue a little bit. I've been playing for 3 hours and 27 minutes now. Usually that's kind of where I hit my fatigue level of Smite. I was like, I had enough. I need a break. Very intense game, yeah. Don't worry, I'm sure Fanboy Steve will do better next time. Dude, it's so hot today as well. Like, I'm actually just sweating. Okay, I mean... Now I will never know. I'm just gonna log out and in again, just so I can see the actual queue. Okay. Never mind, I guess. There we go. Not super hot. Yeah, it's not like... It's not super hot. Because the sun actually hasn't been out much today. Like, it's out now, but it's been cloudy today. I saw... My queue just reset. What the fuck was that? Smite. Don't do this to me. I give you one more shot. But yeah, I'm really not a heat person. I don't like it when it's hot. Leave the gym, it feels like it's freezing. It's gotta be hot in there then. Definitely not the feeling that I get. But my apartment is also like really, really bad when it comes to just heat absorption. Because it's like, it's old brick walls and that shit absorbs heat like crazy. So when the sun is out, it's fucking disgusting in my apartment. I hate being in here. It's actually just better outside. Because at least there's a wind outside. Like, it has to be completely wind still for it to be worse outside than in my apartment. I'm just placed in a pretty bad spot for that. Yeah, I can get enough air in, but the problem is when it gets really hot, it's just hot air. Then I would prefer just closing it and then having some kind of cooler inside. Which is probably what I'm gonna have to do. Or I'll just rely on my fan. My single, absolutely average fan that saves my ass when it's really hot. Yeah, I would never disrespect it. That shit saves my life. I need speed rings. This map is so weird. There's odd turns in this one. I'm dead. Why am I not dead? How am I alive? Somehow that worked out. Fuck. Dude, why is this queue so long now? I guess I might have missed the queue because I stopped for a second. Shit. Nate, are you still here? Did I miss the queue? You didn't? Okay. Yeah, I guess not unless there was a different queue that popped up. Maybe we both missed the queue. Bro, what is this? It's so chaotic. Yeah, no, I think this corruption is too fucking fast for me now. I need more upgrades. This shit gets so fast in this game mode. And these maps are terrible at building momentum. Without speed rings, that is. Ow. That was just bad. Ow. This map is terrible. Shit. Well, this looks like a pretty nice team. Who the hell are we against? No, not the tap out. Oh, shit. It hasn't done that at all today. Damn, it really just hit me when it would hurt the most. I think I'm cooked anyway. There's too many of these fucking explosions. Alright. Made some decent progress at least. I'm not banning anyway in this. I can chill. Max health. I guess I cannot upgrade speed specifically, which kind of sucks. Grab some energy. Item rarity. Everything is very expensive in this game, considering that I've already beaten the main story of this. Things are too expensive. Right, that's the stats person. Still a shit ton of items that I haven't unlocked.
Your god.
Hum. What do I pick? Do a Mordred game. Finish up with a Mordred game. gonna be great early game. It's gonna be dog shit late game. But let's see if I can somehow fix that. Well, I can't fix it, but maybe I can lessen it just a little bit. I do like this game, but it does feel like once you've done the main story, there isn't really much to do. Like, it's just an endless mode, and that's it. Maybe I gotta look out for a near queue game. I do like haste, though. I wish there was just more. Every 10 levels. Why would you need a seed? Guess I'll try it on easy, just see how far I can go. I think what I tried before was either hard or medium. I forgot. It's been a little while since I started the last run. Okay. I am against what? Cerberus? Or some shit like that?
I know it's been tough for you, but you should always try to smile.
Alright. Yeah. Cerberus. Was this Nate ADC? Damn. What, you have like 3 support players in this team?
A tonic or a trinket.
The way I actually go Sunder here though, because beads could actually be kind of good. Shit. Yeah, I'm going beads instead. Because their comp is terrible. If I don't have beads late game, I'm just dead. With actual 0 counterplay. Probably dead anyway. And I don't think I need Sunder in this game. I should win lane somebody easily anyway. Into a Cerberus. Granted, it might be a little annoying, since I can interrupt this too.
Delight in the madness.
I'm on.
Enjoy this fine day.
Enjoy this fine day.
Minions have spawned.
Yes.
Still don't really fully get it. I got the small ones, why am I not level 2? Whose dick do I need to suck to get level 2 on the first wave, huh? Which one of your minions is it?
Fine. That could have gone slightly better. That could have gone slightly better.
Oh, moonbeams!
Enjoy your soul!
Actually, fuck this. I want XP. The faster I get level 5, the higher chance I have of getting an early kill.
On my way! Ultimate is ready! Set up an ambush here!
Fuck, man. If only... Fuck, man. If only I could just get my fucking abilities up in time. Could at least maybe have gotten the Cerberus. Shit.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. An enemy has been slain.
That could have gone slightly better.
Enjoy your soul!
Completed. Be right back!
Sinister and sharp.
Wait.
How wicked!
8 mana region? How did they never realize that? Isn't that insane? Like, what has more mana region than that? Isn't that insane? 8 mana region. I mean, I don't think it matters that much on Oni Hunters of all things, but that's so random. Why does it have 8 mana region? I'm never running out of mana ever again.
I'll attack right lane.
them away.
Be careful, left. Quite well.
Might be able to get tower here. Yeah, almost.
Be right back.
Be right back.
On my way.
On my way.
It's not aspect.
Thanks.
Amazing.
I do need to remember I do have beats.
You are to
It's so weird for me to have beats on Mojet. I never have beats on Mojet.
yes.
Stepping away for a moment.
Enemy ultimate down. Centuries of waiting. I will not be denied.
The rain shall wash them away.
Indeed.
Enemy missing middle.
Maybe I get tower now? Just maybe?
Enemies in the left jungle.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Farewell. Right in the
Run away. To your sound.
Think nothing of it. I'll attack left lane. I have returned.
Be careful, right.
Oh well.
Attack.
The rain shall wash them away.
Enemy missing right. Cancel that.
An enemy has been slain. The rain shall wash them away.
Until next time.
Did remember I had beats.
The pyro.
Cerberus is definitely one of the more annoying ones I think to deal with as Mordred. That's just because I really rely on healing. And he will obviously stop a lot of that from coming in. It's definitely not a Phoenix Shield game.
Enemy has been slain.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Like a jaguar. Ooh.
Justice will rise.
Nemean is something I also gotta buy much earlier than I have been in the past.
Your right tower is under attack.
The rain shall wash them away.
Am I not just magnificent?
It's time to turn this battle in our
My first kill, yay! So earned. Damn, poor Nate is not having a good time over there.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower. Your middle tower is under attack.
enemy missing. I'll attack the Gold Fury.
My humble apologies.
Oh, he's the wrong team. I am sorry. The rain shall wash them away.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Good luck to all. Until next time.
Man, there's not really much happening around solo in these games, so it's just the jungler running the game. Senshi didn't swap, damn man. Well, Senshi's main support as well, right? Was he meant to play the bar? Oh, I'm not queuing. There we go. Just to do nothing as Ares. Yeah. Okay. That is gonna be it for now. I need a shower and I guess I just want to go do something else. I'm happy with what the amount of Smite I played today has been nice. Despite the losses, I had some good fun in those games too. I'm satisfied. I want to do something else before it starts going bad. Every time. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching as always. I really